Well, I made the mistake of, distracting myself and having a look at various things. Went back to reread some things about Seth or Set. So, as well as being an Egyptian deity who could have been called Set or Seth, there was also a biblical figure from the Old Testament, the younger brother of Cain and Abel, born after Cain killed Abel, apparently. And it seems to be a name that's popular with, I suppose you could say, Hollywood types. I know there's a Seth Rogen. I think that I know who he is. I think he's the guy who was in some of those funny movies, but we thought he was sort of pranking around and joking, but a lot of the things that he said were actually quite terrible. But we took him in jest. But when you realize he's not joking, then you kind of realize, oh, maybe this guy isn't so funny after all. Same thing with Silver Woman, that Sarah Silverwoman. A lot of the things that she said earlier in her career, maybe it was kind of funny, but we thought she was just, saying stuff for shock value. But what if she's serious then? Then it's suddenly not so funny anymore. So there he is there. Can I read this out? Just a random seeing what he has here. I first did stand up at a, probably best not say that word in case anybody gets offended. I did not know it was a bar at the time, but the people loved me. Right, so these people loved him. I was huge among those people, and I am to this day. I'm thrilled with the support of those people. It sounds like the kind of flattery that somebody would give themselves when they want to sort of say, I'm a hero, but in a quirky way or whatever. I'm a friend to those people, and I'm a friend to these people, these poor downtrodden people. That's what it comes across as to me. And he doesn't seem like he's just happy-go-lucky kind of a guy. That's sort of permanently stuck in his early 20s as a student, as a directionless, slobbish, sort of endearingly slobbish person. But it stops being amusing pretty soon if you would have to live with him. Now, I didn't mean this video to be about Seth Rogen. There's just an example of one of the Hollywood types who is called Seth. And I suppose if I'm just trying to demonstrate that it seems to be a popular name. And the funny thing is for me is that I was aware that there were other Seths there. Can't remember which Seth it was that they had some rumours about. I won't get into them now because maybe I'm misremembering it, but I seem to remember there was some unpleasant rumours about some Seth. Was that Seth Meyers? I can't remember. And I do pay quite little attention to Hollywood. I don't want to get into the bragging about how little attention I pay to Hollywood, and have done for so long. But I remember when I was in my 20s, maybe some people would say they didn't watch television. I remember when I was in my even pre-teens, people would tell me that TV was something that rotted the mind. And they said that they didn't have I remember some people who might even have said to me back in the 80s or 90s that they didn't have a TV in their home. I thought these people must have been very odd people. But, now I understand it. Because look, I mean, we think of the movies from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s as being based, or at least far, far better than they are now. But it was just less obvious. I mean, it's pretty clear that each decade was just a different point in the slide, in the decline. I won't get into that now. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir on that one. And every time, I suppose it's useful as a representative example of how you can apply that principle to a lot of things. Whether we look at the economy and people might say, oh, I'd love to go back to the days when, say, gas or petrol was only X price versus X plus whatever price, or X squared price, or whatever, X to the power of whatever price. Or I'd love to go back to the days when bread cost this and milk cost that and eggs cost the other. Or my typical grocery shopping basket or trolley or cart only cost, I don't know, $50, $100, $200, but now it costs $1,000, whatever. I certainly haven't spending $1,000, but I know some people probably are. Um, but just every win for a conservative, or every conservative's dream, is to go back to a time always when it was just less intolerable than it is now. That's the dream. That's the lofty goals conservatives set themselves these days, to be able to go back to a time when things were less oppressive, when things were less denigrated, when things were less demoralizing, when things were just not quite as bad as they are now. Anyway, I've gotten off the beaten track already, and I've forgotten what that tangent was in aid of. Sorry about that. I suppose just about not having TVs in the home. I haven't watched anything on TV really in years. I mean, I've seen a TV, yes. I've seen other people watching TV in the last 10 years. And I guess I have sat down with them and watched and kind of gone, oh my God, how do these people find this entertaining or amusing or sustaining to their mind in any way? Why don't they see how obviously derivative all of this is? Even if they find it funny, surely they must realize they're laughing at exactly the same hack jokes, clearly cut from a very lazy template. And so that there's no telling anymore. If it is AI, you would think AI could be obviously doing a better job of it. That is obviously some lazy hires, lazy people who are just think that they did a course in how to write jokes and they follow the formula, and so it must be funny. And they are devoid of creativity themselves. I guess it's those kind of people. Because if it was AI writing the jokes, it would be better. But anyway, I don't know if it's Seth Rogen or Seth Meyers or some other Seth in Hollywood who had these rumours. I suppose it doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm offended about right now. I'm offended mostly at how, not that these people are getting on TV every night or second night or every week or however their schedule is, and doing late shows, tonight shows, super late shows, the something show, the satirical, it's not a news show, I'm just a comedian show. Whether it be, Stewart or Leibowitz, I forget their names now. That guy with the weirdly French-sounding name. Why have I forgotten his name? I better look up the late night shows, because now their names are escaping me, and I know damn well Myers. So, is this guy called Seth Meyers? There's another Myers as well, isn't there? So he's Myers, but there's Bill Maher. Maher or Meyer. It's the same name, really, just spelled a bit differently. So again, I mean, that's a very common, popular name amongst those people. I'm pretty sure it basically means mayor. He's the mayor, he's the capo, he's the guy in charge of whatever town they put him in charge of. I'd say that's where the name comes from. Late night shows, right? Well, it wasn't Johnny Carson. Even though, look, again, people would love to go back to those days, but again, he was just a point in the decline. It's always been the electric degenerative machine in the corner of the room. It's not in the corner anymore. Now it's over what used to be a fireplace. Now it's an electric plasma fireplace. In the kitchen, in the bedroom, everywhere. Chevy Chase did have a show, but I don't think that lasted long. Or is it still on? I have no idea. I liked Chevy Chase. But anyway. And the fact that they say that he was hard to work with, well, if most people in Hollywood say that, well then, I actually do think this is one of the occasions when this was that everybody else was wrong and he was actually well justified in being unpleasant to those unpleasant people. Stephen Colbert, I think that's the guy I was thinking of with the sort of weirdly French sounding name, because he does say it like Colbert, not Colbert, doesn't he? Again, I mean, Dave Letterman, I mean, is anybody going to try and defend him? The Letterman. Anytime, I won't get into too much, but look, I mean, all he really did, he was quite an odd fellow. He might be based now, but I mean, it's easy to be based when you're retired and your standpoint is you want to criticize the young guns who came up after you. But he didn't. Never thought he was a good. And I know lots of people thought he was amazing. He was just the best of all time. I never thought he was a good interviewer. He was just weird, and he didn't really ask much. And his fake laughs and counting down top 10 stuff and thinking it was hilarious, like it was just weird, you know. I'm glad I stole my cable back in the 80s or the 90s really. I liked Jay Leno. I always did. And then I really liked his car stuff when he brought out that stuff on YouTube. And he just seems to be the most down to earth, humble, self effacing, pleasant kind of a person. And I respect somebody who knows enough about cars to fix them himself and drive them as well as look after them well. But apparently he recently apologised for jokes he might have made in the past about Koreans eating dogs. Whatever. It's just incredible. Why? What career did he think that he needed to save? Why did he need to come out of retirement to apologise for that? He has his millions. He's not worried about being fired. I guess he just didn't like the thought of some of his neighbours in Hollywood turning their noses up at him in some way on his morning walk or whatever. I don't know. It's just weird. Craig Ferguson, a lot of people say they'd like to go back to him, but I mean, yeah, he was good. He was good at flirting with the ladies. But, I mean, be under no illusion, he would be a lefty. And he would espouse whatever he's supposed to espouse, or he would just stay away from things. He's not going to be somebody who stands up against stuff. And if he does, it's going to be in the most mild form way. Look, I can't help it going off on all these tangents. I didn't mean to. I meant to get right into Seth Rogen here. Not Seth Rogen. This other Seth. As I say, it seems to be a popular name. Seth Meyers, is it? I mean, I assume that I can't play any of his show. But he's just so insincere. And it's not that he's so insincere, it's that he's so formulaic. I don't expect him to be sincere. Yeah, well, let's see if I can remember some of the jokes. He said something like, Joe Biden isn't very popular even in Delaware. And it was a joke where people were supposed to go, oh no, but like, it's true, but it's funny, but well, whatever. I don't even know what the people in the audience think the joke is. And there was some mild sort of titters, guffaws, but there was no hearty laughs. There was no crying either. It was weird. That's what I don't get. I don't understand what the people listening to this, either at home or in the audience, think they're supposed to be either amused at or upset about. I don't think they know themselves what their reaction should be or how to feel. Nobody's telling them clearly. I think maybe they must be confused because nobody's giving them clear messages as to how they should feel. And you can be damn sure they're not going to start feeling any way about anything until they know what way their peers, everyone around them, is feeling. And then they can join and go, oh, yeah, I thought that. I thought that too. That's what I think. Because I'm correct, because I'm right, because I'm a good person. What did he say about Trump here? I suppose what I must do is put on the subtitles. That would help, wouldn't it? So Trump's getting a little bored. Was he allowed to go to his... Yeah, I think the joke was the judge allowed him to go to his kids, which I guess must be Barron's high school graduation. Is that right? Could that be right? Amazing. So he's presumably either 17 or 18 now. Something along those lines. So he's becoming an adult. Fair play to him. Maybe it was easier for him over the last 4 years that his father wasn't currently, allegedly, the president. But I think the joke was the judge allowed him to attend his child's graduation, but stopped short of telling him where the school was. I guess implying that Trump is a delinquent father and doesn't know where his own child goes to school. Is that the joke? And they kind of went, ha ha ha, at that as well. It's bizarre. It's bizarre what they think they're supposed to find funny. Oh yeah, and they said the court stenographer or artist, sketch artist would make more sense, wouldn't it? Must be getting a little bored, and they have a quite badly photoshopped picture of Trump's face, obviously supplanting the Mona Lisa's face. So that's another joke. And then they got into Christy Nome. I'm certainly not going to defend her. Although I will say, I'll take the opportunity to say, when I first saw her, I went, right, fair play to her. She is good looking. And especially for whatever age she was, a middle-aged woman, I guess she was around 40 years old. Don't get me wrong, I'm not entering any beauty contest myself. But what more can I say about that? Just in case you think I'm being a hypocrite, I'm not claiming that I'm judging her from a position of being better looking myself. But I will say that it does look as if she's showing some wrinkles there and that she looks like she's put on a bit of weight in the face. So I mean, even though like I'd be duty bound not to find her attractive because I'm such a misogynist bigot, she, I think, has lost her appearance of youth and good looks. Sorry to say. But that's not just because and I guess maybe psychologically it might have removed whatever rose-tinted glasses might be in front of my face, to learn that she absolutely has pledged her loyalty and support and adoration. She really laid it on thick for a certain country, and that country was not the United States of America. So when I learned about that, I kind of thought like, right, well, I mean, I always thought that her fake gun toting and I'm here in, is it South Dakota or North Dakota? I forget. Anyhow, I did see her campaign ads or whatever it was, for being the governor of one of the Dakotas. I presume that's what it was. And of course, there was lots of conservatives, Republicans, whatever, our guys on our side, saying, "Isn't she lovely?" Wish I could have sung that in a bit of a better tune there, but I'm not going to go for a second attempt. Maybe I will. Isn't she lovely? No real better the next time, but I mean, that's basically what I'm getting at. There was all these people looking at her saying, she's like the perfect woman. Not only is she super deliciously good looking, but she's based. And she's conservative. She's a real woman. She's shooting guns. She knows how to handle a weapon, if you know what I mean. Hey, say no more. And she's out in the countryside, and she's in this kind of picturesque. It's too good. It was like it had to be contrived, like this field of perfect corn or wheat or whatever it was, And so people felt like, she's down to earth in a very literal way. She's riding a horse, and was she even wearing some of those chaps over her denims and whatever? I mean, basically, it was all very cliched, very contrived, and obviously, like, public relations marketed. So, look, I mean, our parents and their parents used to say, if something's too good to be true, it has to be. If it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So like every other politician, they'll just project the image of themselves they want you to see, and they'll say the things they think you want to hear. And so in that regard, maybe she's misjudged a lot of conservatives by pledging her loyalty in a most profuse way to some country other than the one she's supposed to be representing or wants to represent, presumably, I guess. Is she already formally throwing her, as they say, hat into the ring, her 10-gallon hat or Stetson or whatever, into the ring to be the next vice presidentress? I don't know. Maybe she's saying, listen, I know I'm not a woman of colour, but at least I love a certain country in the Middle East. more than a certain camel. Maybe that's the idea. Or maybe as well, she understands all the prizes that Senor Trump has received and been bestowed from a certain country, the same certain country, So maybe she thinks that she will curry favour with Donald, with the Don, by professing her, maybe not undying, but profuse love, her absolute adoration for a certain country that isn't the United States. Maybe that was her thinking. Oh, I know what I'll do. Maybe she has a team of people who come to her and say, we think it'd be a great idea if you'd put it out there that you really love this country. But this country not being the United States. And then the Don will go, I really love that country as well. And I'm thinking about becoming the president again next year. Would you like to be my vice presidentress? Maybe that's the idea. I guess so. I didn't mean to be fixating on that, but basically, that's the way it is. I mean, look, I hope guys are going to learn the lesson from her, but I think they won't, Um, I don't know if it's just that I'm getting older, that maybe their magic isn't working on me as much, or maybe it's just since I became a misogynist. But maybe all men become misogynists and bigots a bit more every year they get a bit older, and they get a little bit wiser, maybe I'll say, in that regard. They understand that the allure of a good looking face doesn't mean that there's a lovely girl behind that lovely looking face. The lovely girl behind the lovely looking face understands that she has a lovely looking face with which she can get men to do most anything for her. She learns very young, very early on, how easy it is to manipulate people with her cuteness or her, well, femininity, I suppose, anyway, without waxing on about it. It's just such a simple concept. But I'll admit myself that in the real world, if there is a very good looking woman, or not, actually, sorry, I'll take that back. She doesn't have to be very good looking. She just has to be mildly good looking. I can often find myself then having the internal battle in my mind saying, don't allow her to think that you find her attractive or whatever, or concentrate, stop thinking about stuff, just listen, pay attention, that kind of thing. It's very easy to become disarmed in the real world. And I try to kind of call on my powers of bigotry. I say, like, misogyny, don't leave me now. Bigotry, don't forsake me in my hour of need. Sexism, come to my rescue. Anyway, I better move on. So he makes some joke about her, talking about apparently in her book. Don't know when the book came out, but must have been recently, or else just for whatever reason they decided to try and find something on her. As in, the enemies of the Conservatives or the enemies of the Republicans, the Democrats. And the Blues wanted to find something on the Reds. They poured through her book, and the worst they could find was something about her, I guess, talking about ending the life of maybe, I'm guessing the context might be that she had an old Yeller type situation and had to take the family loved dog out the back and send the dog to dog heaven. I'm guessing that's probably what the context is, and then the way the Democrats would want to do it is they want to say that she's basically eating more than North Korea does. North Korea? All of Korea, whatever. I guess I'm just reading, knowing the way that things normally go. I'm presuming that's the way it is. But I really don't care, I think basically it's another case of the left being right, but for the wrong reasons, They don't like her because she's just an adversary, an opponent. And as far as they're concerned, our team is blue, and it's blue no matter who. That's who we vote for. That's the way most Democrats are. Unfortunately, most Republicans then react to that and say, well, we have to keep them out, and there's no better alternative, and we have to vote for the Republican. The Don is great, and maybe even some of them do know that he absolutely has received awards for being the best guy ever, the best friend to a certain country. But they kind of say, well, he's better than whoever, Biden or Kamala or Big Mike or whoever, Gavin Newsom, whoever else they're going to come up with, And so that's unfortunately the way it's always going to go. Maybe not always, but the way it has always gone. That, well, we have to vote for the least worst option. And in case you are wondering why I'm talking about it in this "Who's This We" business, Kimasabe, I've been living in the American Empire, which has existed at the very least since the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. Even if I'm not an American, I have it worse than Americans because, whoever nominatively is in charge of the United States, whoever's behind that throne is in charge of the American Empire. And I don't even have a pretend say in what goes on in the American Empire. I'm like one of those disenfranchised Roman people who's not even a citizen, doesn't have voting rights. You get me? So I do take an interest in what goes on, because whatever goes on in America goes on in the rest of the world. Because of corporatism and economics and all that. That's the real power, I guess we know that. But anyway. I'd rather not have either. Maybe gas prices will go down. Maybe the average price of a shopping cart will go down. But we'll still be being ruled by these people. The Seths and the Myers of this world. And these people if they have their way, this in 20 years' time will be something people will be hoping they can go back to. If only we could go back to the days of Seth Meyers when he's making these jokes about Christy Nome. Maybe he'll have to apologise for making jokes about something. It's just bizarre. And look, he acts, see this here, like he has one of those rubber faces. He's acting like he finds it all hilarious, like it's all in good humour. That's the conceit of this thing as well. He's making jokes, but he's not really serious, okay? So you can't blame him. You can't accuse him of being politically biased because he's just a comedian, guys. He's just a comedian, guys. Just like the Leibowitz defence. So there it is, and he's got the finger in the air. They've got all the mannerisms, like so. Whatever. I mean, he's good at the job in that sense. And however old he is, maybe he's around the same age I am. Maybe he's a bit older. Maybe he's a bit younger. It's hard to say. But even though he's obviously losing a bit of hair from his temples, and he's got the grey flecks and all that, I guess he looks trim enough for his age. His wrinkles don't make him look ugly, I suppose. Maybe they enhance his ability to exaggerate expressions on his face just like a clown face would, maybe. And trying to be, what's the word for it? Not exactly impartial. Maybe it's impartial is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to be, non-partisan. Trying to be objective here. I really am. I really want to be objective all the time. One of my worst fears is that people would accuse me of being biased, or not at least trying to weigh up all the things and come to a truthful conclusion, not just something that would suit me. Yeah, this is the one, the joke about this. Apparently that's the judge on that drew the line at telling Trump where his kid went to school. Just bizarre. As I say, the thing that I found most strange is what must be going on inside the minds of the people listening to this stuff. Because I don't think they could find it funny. Even if they hate Trump or whatever, they can't be laughing at it in good humour. Especially if they have any venom in their hearts or minds about any of this stuff. Clearly they're partisan. And it's an interesting psychological thing. I won't get too deep into it now, but it's the same thing as those people losing their minds in public going, no, with people, at their protests and protesting speakers at universities and, the famous meme of the girl with the hat on going, no, with the backpack on her when Trump was announced as winning, was at his inauguration. It's just, it's weird how it affects them so deeply. And then they want to laugh at this. Because I guess they know that laughter is a weapon of sorts. Cat was recently reunited with its family, blah, blah, blah. It's just, how is any of this entertaining for them? I mean, what I'm saying is, it must be as soul-destroying for them. It really must be. That's what I think it is. It really must be as soul-destroying for them as it is for me and for you. I was trying to avoid there saying us, because again, it might be like, who's this? Us. Business Kimazabi. Radio Clown's parents. I don't know. I mean, it's the same stuff, whether it's every day, every evening, every night. This woman had some kind of bread hat. Ha ha ha, don't go outside with it. Birds will only peck it. Yeah, I guess so. Like, is this supposed to... And is he back then to Christy now? Like, is any... Laughter, says the subtitles. Like, is any of this supposed to amuse me? Or anyone? Like, even people apparently on their political side. What a great show we have for you tonight. Joe Manganiello. I really don't know who that guy is. Maybe he's mad famous. I know there's some woman at the moment, Sydney something or other. And I say something or other because is it Sydney Penny? I can't remember her name. I'm not going to even Google her now. But I really don't know. If you ask me now, I mean, I think I did learn recently what movie she's been in. I really don't know. And I'm glad that I don't know. And I don't care how nice her frontage is. Her road frontage. I just don't care. That's how much of a bigot, misogynist, sexist I am. Being a member of this SRMB plus community, sexist, racist, misogynist, bigot plus community, I think has yielded results. It's helped me to be a lot more objective and less swayed by a pretty face. Of Way Too Early with Jonathan Lemire. Again, never heard of him. And I'm so glad that I haven't. So glad that I don't know this guy. Family Trips with the Meyer Brothers. I'm so glad I don't have to watch that guy. He looks nice and diverse. There's something that has blah 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 in my panic, da da da. And then they have this joke, and it goes on. I think it maybe where does it start? At this point in the broadcast, Seth launched into a 60-second obscenity-laden rant about vests. And you know, of course, why they chose vests is because they had to workshop this to find out, okay, what can we lampoon or what can we say that there's a meta joke about that nobody will then spin up a thread on Twitter saying, how dare Seth Meyers go after the whatever. But of course, because of Poe's law, I mean, I will be shocked if there isn't somebody kind of going, my father wore a vest, and it was because of that vest that my father then had to transition me, or whatever it was, you know. And they'll be saying, or maybe it'll be a word that maybe they're not familiar with, and he's like, oh well, in this community, a vest means something, you know, much different than that. But they won't even give him that leeway. They'll go, oh, he said a word that is grossly offensive to people who aren't able to wear things over their torso or whatever it might be, you know. My great grandmother, who became my great godson or whatever, I don't know, can't wear vests because of a debilitating condition. Anyway, look, you get the point. This joke, they picked that so that he can have a rant about vests. And this joke goes on for the rest of this video. It goes on and on and on and on and on, and it's nothing. And it's just nothing. Like, let's stop here. Okay, well, I saw this, Marty McFly. Said Seth, this seemed to take Marty McFly by surprise. You didn't? No? Did you even watch my monologue? And as well, and he goes, and that was my monologue today, guys. Now on to something else. I mean, you can't be a good host if you go, well, that was the monologue. Now let me do the sitting down at the desk portion of the show. Now here's a guest. Now that was my interview of the guest. Now on to the reading of the cards. I guess they do that. It's just so terribly formulaic. And well, I guess my question is becoming, isn't everybody sick of this? And isn't everybody, I'm not trying to say, come on guys, can we just get over politics and let's just stop fighting? No. But I mean, it must be the case that everybody must be secretly, I say, in their minds, they must be sick of this. But yet, I don't know, I actually can't wrap my mind around it, because I have sat beside people, I've mentioned this before, I sat beside a friend of my father's, and they had a sort of a nice large room with an open plan, kitchen area, a big living room, and just, I guess, I was going to say it's a big TV, but it's probably standard size by these days. I don't know what it was, maybe 50-inch. And on satellite TV there in South Africa, on was the, whatever show James Corden was on. Was that the Tonight Show? And this was during the 2020 video convention of 2020, the VidCons. And I think Billie Eilish was on it. And she sung some song, and it was just so trite, so formulaic, so clearly designed by the numbers. It was, you know, again, wouldn't be surprised if it's written by an AI to just hit the sort of figurative and literal notes of whatever tune, just to tug at the heartstrings in such a cynical way. And I looked over and I turned to him, like, basically just kind of go, you getting this? Do you see this stuff? I mean, how could anyone watch this bilge? How could anybody be entertained or moved anyway? Surely this is so saccharine, so artificial, so sickly sweet that it would be disgusting. It'd be like taking an overdose of aspirin. And I look at him, and there's tears coming down his face, and he's so moved by it. And I said, geez. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And he went, and he couldn't speak, that he was crying so much. And later on, I guess he told me, it really spoke to him. It reminded him of a friend of his when he was younger, maybe had died. And I guess, fine, I had to kind of go, okay, sorry, yeah. But this is the thing. I mean, they can, whatever is inside you that they can reach, they'll reach with these cynical ways of just creating emotion by the numbers. But these people don't feel it, but they're paid to emote it, and I guess they do. It doesn't need to be sophisticated propaganda anymore. And it seems to bloody well work. Seeing the effect it had on him really scared me because this guy was like a tough old fella, you know. And he was the kind of guy, you know, the kind of fella, you know, from the yeah. Look, I mean, he was a boomer, but anyway, he was one of the tough fellas who was, you know, in his younger days would have, if somebody would have said anything in any remotely way gentle, and certainly if anybody would have cried about anything in front of him, well, you know, you can guess. I won't say the things now, but you know exactly what he would have said about them. You know, he would have said the things like, you know, what are you, some kind of fairy? You know what I mean? And here he is crying over Ariana Grande, I think it was, or no, Billie Eilish, I think it was. Because I know there was a separate thing with Ariana Grande dancing, I think in a yellow dress, with James Corden. There's no point in me looking for it because I bet you would get copyright struck if I did look it up. But, yeah, that was such a cynical and contrived and insincere production they put on. And again, I would have looked at these people or anyone who, I remember watching that and I probably looked at the same people and there was others there and I was kind of going, you get this? Oh my God, how do they have the audacity, the chutzpah to pull this off and think that we won't laugh at them and see them for exactly what they are? The paid actors. None of this none of this is coming from a place of authentic artistic creativity. But yet, I look around at the people who are supposedly people who I think that we all like, and these are all conservative type people. Oh, you better believe, you know. And they have opinions that would not fly outside of South Africa. And their opinions are kind of on the sort of normie to, I realise, are kind of on the normie level, really. But oh, you better believe if they came to Europe or America with those opinions, they wouldn't know how to handle it because they'd be just saying what they think is totally normal stuff, and there would be people calling the police for things they're saying. Oh yeah. So these are arch conservatives compared to Americans or Europeans, and yet they watch this stuff like James Corden dancing, singing in the rain or whatever it is, and talking about how wonderful it is to push things into your subcutaneous region that you don't know anything about, but you've been waiting for, like you think it's your savior, your liquid savior. And they looked at this, and I turned to them again and went, "Are you getting this?" And they were like, "Oh wow, it's just so wonderful that they have such a sense of humor, you know, in these dark times." You know, when we've all this terrible stuff going on outside, like, and we don't know when it's going to be safe. And we have these people just reminding us of happier days and reminding us that someday we'll get out there and we'll dance again. We'll dance like nobody's watching or whatever. So they've really bought it all up. They've lapped it all up. All these silly thoughts they've put into people's minds so easily. And they continue to do it. But as I say, I can't understand how they don't see it. I can't understand how they don't see, even if they don't see the clear insincerity and cynicism, surely this is starting to seem very formulaic. Are they not noticing that it's the same notes that are being hit figuratively and literally every night? The words are rearranged slightly, the context is rearranged slightly, the news stories are slightly different, but it's always the same general story, day in, day out. Surely that has to be becoming tiring, if not exhausting. Surely that has to grate. Surely that has to be, with repetition, something that is starting to feel like they can't take it anymore either. Can't take any more of this. Open your window and say, "I'm a human being, goddammit." What does he say? "I'm mad as hell. And I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to watch this anymore." When are they going to get as sick of this as I have been for the last 10 years? Well, I started this off by saying that I wanted to read some of the comments underneath, and I read the first one and first comment, and I think that's why I said I have to check this out. I have to go online and just read some of these. But I chose not to do it live. I'm not quite sure why, so I'll just pre-record this. I think it was in case maybe I got too heavy-handed in a vocal way, you know. But let's see what. Okay, well, maybe sometimes we got to remember there could be paid agitators online as well, and possibly non-human entities interacting. But anyway, this guy says he's at Rosenbaum 75. Okay, he says I'm in Houston, and I have spent the entire day canvassing neighborhoods, and have gotten 67 people to register to vote as Democrats since last Monday. Oh, really? He spent the entire day canvassing. Is he a politician or just helping politicians? And he's got 67 people to register to vote as Democrats since last Monday. Really? And I'd love to know, if that is true, I'd love to know the ratio of doors knocked upon and answered and people converted, or people who hadn't registered either as anything or hadn't registered before as a Republican or an independent even. Amazing. I think I tend not to believe that, though. And then he says, like with the humble brag, I know it's not much. And I know Trump's going to win Texas. But if we're going to lose democracy, at least I can say I did what I could to help save it. Vote blue if you cherish democracy. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Now, there's 202 replies to that. I can't obviously get into that and read out the 202 replies. But I guess I'm going to have to see... okay, I had to just see if the first reply was saying, what are you like? But maybe this is one of those threads, just like those finance threads, where everybody in it is a bot, and they kind of go, oh, really? Tell me more about Dr. Sanganiski. Because I've really been looking for someone to give my money to since I invested in Bitcoin, or I've been looking to get into Bitcoin. So can Dr. Sanuski help me? And he goes, oh, yes. Somebody else replies, Dr. Sanuski helped me when I wanted to understand Bitcoin. So maybe it's the same idea here. He says, good for you. Thank you. Even the ocean is really just made of many, many drops of water. Point is, each drop counts. That sounds like an AI answer. It really does. Is it humans upvoting them? Maybe some. Thank you for your work. Presidential wins are notched in the thousands, not millions. You're making a real difference. Respect. Thank you for your time. Okay. I'm going to stop reading there. I can't go on. Man, I applaud you. I'm doing what I can just within my own family and friends, and that is hard enough. You're a real one. Thanks for getting involved. Canada supports you. If everyone does that, that gets Biden in. But did he give it away in the beginning? He says, vote blue if you cherish democracy. Because their slogan really is, or it's not just their slogan, their motto, what's the phrase for a word to live by, or a phrase to live by? You know, they're abiding, what is the phrase? Sometimes, you know, just under the slight pressure of recording myself, I forget very obvious, basic, cliched phrases. Anyway, they're words to live by, whatever the better phrase is, or vote blue, no matter who. So they don't even have to look into the candidate, whether he believes what he says that he's purporting to run on, you know, whatever his policies are. But they obviously don't look into his policies either. It's just, we don't need to know the candidate. We don't need to know the policies. We just know Democrat is our party, because democracy is what we support. So vote blue no matter who. It's just amazing. Okay, Ryan Eglitis. Is that like a church? Église is a church in French. And anyway, it doesn't matter. Ryan of the churches, maybe. I love that the judge gave him leave to go, because now he's forced to actually go and sit through it, even though he never would have gone without the court case. So he's saying he's a delinquent father. But again, could be a bot. But it's just amazing. Lol, so true. Good point. I'll be the first one. What? Or it'll be the first one. Okay. Seeing a cape-clad Wally appearing to fly through the air like a beautiful half-man, half-god made my bad day better. All right, so this woman here, can you hover over stuff? No, I'm not going to go into her profile there. But I guess she could be real. I mean, Elizabeth Larson could be just one of many, many normies there who kind of goes, I get jokes. I love jokes. I laughed at jokes. I was having a bad day, because that's what humans do, don't they? And then they laugh at a joke and they have a better day. And they get through it and they finish their work day, and then they go home, go to bed, get up and do it all again the next day. But we laugh, don't we? Oh, how we laughed. 10 Bucks says Trump's chronic and aggressive narcissism forces an impromptu, unhinged rally rant at Barron's graduation. Yeah, because that's what he does all the time, you know? He just goes, right, that's it, give me the mic. I'm going to. LMAO. Now Trump has got to go to Barron's graduation. It's just incredible. And it's amazing how effective the programming is. Like, they know what the joke is, and they know how and they want to prove they got the joke. Oh, that's right, because Trump is such an evil narcissist. He wouldn't have gone to his son's graduation if the judge hadn't told him he could go, or whatever. Not that it even makes any sense. Bringing the account of graduations attended for his children to one. What a dad. Now, is he saying that he never went to the graduation of his other children? I mean, if he didn't, maybe there was a reason for it. Maybe there was security reasons, or maybe he didn't want to upstage his own son or daughter. Did he have other sons? I think, yes, he did. Son or daughter at their graduation. Maybe he did that out of a sort of a sense of, what's the word for it again? A sense of thinking of others first, anyway. Sorry, I couldn't think of the one single word that means that. Well, humility maybe, or consideration for other people, for every other parent and child at the school. Maybe he felt like, look, if I turn up, it'll be mayhem, or it'll make the occasion all about me, and I'd rather not do that. So if that's true that he didn't attend others, then that's probably likely the reason. But of course, those people just want to think that they are morally superior and everything in every other way, intellectually superior. More of this. Trump had no intention. Let's see if I can find a comment that's not just copy paste. Me too, me too. The judge called his bluff. Now Trump has to show up, or else people will ask him, why did you make such a big deal if you didn't want to go? Remember, "Sleave him alone" was a jackal joke from Corrections. The feature has to continue now, or Seth and his writers will have no one to crib from. Oh, is that critical of Seth Meyers? This guy, Verdatum, says, Seth is not only making fun of the obscure rebroadcasts of the Martin Lawrence monologue from SNL, cut mid-air due to lewd commentary on aspects of feminine hygiene, an episode that just this past February turned 30 years old, is also not the first time he's done this. For the 20 or so viewers that get this, we thank you, Seth. Oh, okay, so he's trying to say, I'm really, really clever. I recognise some in-joke that Seth is doing, I guess, is where he's coming from. Boy. Her mentioning killing the puppy wasn't a mistake or a miscalculation. It was part of her resume. So she's trying to say, oh no, these people are that evil. They're proud of shooting animals. Or, whatever way that they get rid of them. The puppy growled, and she is legally entitled to stand her ground. Okay, my guess about the circumstances might be different. Maybe it was a dog that attacked somebody, or was deemed to be uncontrollable in some way. Maybe that rings a bell now. I don't know. I'm gonna hold judgment until I read into it, but maybe I'm not that interested to read into it. Her entitlement must be off the charts to feel she can put that into a book, or into our book. Yeah, more that, oh no, now I'll have to go to my son's graduation. Remember, every time he pays for a gag order, 150 Trump Bibles must be sold. Like, it's just amazing. Of course, we'll never know how many of these are bots and how many not, but it's just over and over and over, same kind of thing. I get jokes, I'm funny, I have a great sense of humour, and also aren't my opponents bad, even though I don't really understand politics very well either. I think I'm on the good side here. It just shows how easily manipulated people are. They'll say whatever they think will win them approval in whatever they think is their social circle, and they assume their social circle to be the majority of people. I guess I'll leave it there. It's just more and more and more, and I'm not finding any new interesting comments. Kristi Noem should be held accountable now for doing what you did there with the dog. Amber says, what will always be my favourite, but this is, at this point in the broadcast, segments are a close second for me. It's all so tiresome. It's all so tiresome. I think I'll just leave it there. It's exhausting, isn't it? What's the point of this video then? I don't know. I guess so that we can all feel exhausted together and feel some kind of kindred spirits about that. Okay, cheers for listening. Hope it's helped in some way. Bye for now.